We're looking at the Midrash of Sefer Ha-Aggadah, page 117. And the Midrash is very creative in writing the actual letter, the actual text of Haman's letter to the nations. Because what we find in the Megillah, it says, להשמיד להרוג ולאבד את כל היהודים מנער ועד זקן טף ונשים ביום אחד. That we have the text as the Bible describes it, that all nations are called upon to annihilate the Jews, men, women, children, on one day, the 13th of Adar. But the Midrash goes a little further. He says, Ani Gidol HaMelech, he describes himself. Iskamnu kulanu be'aitza achat, befe had, dibur had, lashon had. We all agreed unanimously with the approval of Hashverosh and sealing it with his seal in a way that's irreversible, regarding the great eagle whose wings are spread over the whole world, and in a way that no animal or bird were able to confront him. And this is obviously an analogy to Am Yisrael. It's interesting because many great nations took the eagle as a symbol, good in a good way, in a bad way. Of course, we know the American eagle, but also Nazi Germany, his symbol was, I think it's still on the flag of Germany, or is it? No, maybe not. Not on the current flag, but there was a symbol. So it says, but the lion, which is Nebuchadnezzar, struck the eagle and broke its wings, and the whole world lives peacefully since that eagle was driven away from its nest until today. But now we see that he wants to grow again wings and feathers and to take control over the whole world as it did before. This is eerily familiar, right? It's the nations are happy. We are happy with the Jews when they are subdued, when their wings are broken, right? Like as we were in exile, but now that they are trying to grow again, to become independent, to be in a leadership position, this is dangerous. They're going to control the whole world. Of course, it brings to mind the protocols of the elders of Zion, which, if you want to know the history of the protocols, it's like the most elaborate anti-Semitic work of recent history. It was actually commissioned by the Tsarist police in Russia. I mean, this, fake news coming from Russian outlets, that was the first one. It was commissioned by the government, by the Tsarist Russia, to bring down the communists, and which they believed, and actually there were a lot of Jews active among them. So they found a failing Russian writer who lived in Paris at the time, and commissioned him with writing a book that will describe the Jews as the greatest danger to mankind. And he took existing books, took the Prince Machiavelli and all the and other books that were written, and just rewrote them about the Jews. And that fake work became so popular; it's reprinted all over, especially in the Arab world today. So it's a big problem. And when you go back to Haman, here's the first protocols of the Elders of Zion, the way Haman describes it. Lachen says, therefore, we've all gathered to put a trap for that eagle, to catch it before it grows strong again and returns to its nest. And we have decided to break its wings, pluck its feathers, and feed it to the birds of prey, to break the eggs that were already laid, and to kill its fledgling, and to annihilate from the world. And he says, we were not going to follow the failed attempt of Pharaoh that only wanted to kill the male and left the female. We're not going to be like Amalek, who killed the weak and those who were left behind, but did not attack the main body of the Israelite camp. We're not going to be like Nebuchadnezzar, who exiled them, expelled them from Israel, but brought them to Babylonia and eventually let them assume positions of power. And we're not going to be like Sanherib, who actually predates Nebuchadnezzar, that's the king of Assyria, who came in the 7th century before the Common Era, who expelled them to a land that was similar to their land. Meaning they are now listing all the other failed attempts to destroy the Jewish or the Israelite people, and say we're not going to do that. But rather, hiskamnu beruach brua, we have agreed with clear conscious and with clarity of mind, להרוג ולאבד את כל היהודים מנער ועד זקן, ולא יהיה להם זכר ולא שם ולא זרע בעולם, to kill all from the youngest to the oldest, and leave for them no remnant, no name, no descendants in the world, שלא יעשו בנו כדרך שעשו בזקנינו ואבותינו, so they would not treat us the way they treated our fathers and forefathers. שכל מי שעשה עמהן טובה לא גמלו אלא רעה, because those people, whoever favored them and did good with them, they only returned evil instead of good. So this is an amazing and, like I said, scary part of the Midrash, because you read that this is almost 2,000 years old text that describes the events of the Megillah that is 2,300 years old, and we still have the same mentality, the same story. So we ask, like, where did this come from? So some of it has to do with a lot of it has to do with sociology and anthropology and how people treat those that they consider others. And I think that one of the reasons that the Jewish people really stands out always as the other, because we have certain values. First of all, we have obviously the Torah, certain practices and laws that set us apart. But every religion has that. Every religion has that. Every culture has that. The interesting thing is that wherever Jews went, they created their own nucleus and their own community, and people just sort of gravitated towards that center and did not assimilate into the local population. Part of it was because of the hatred of the local population, but another part was because Jews we always carried with us a very deep and beautiful legacy that we're not willing to let go of. And I think I mentioned once when we spoke about the encounter of Greeks and Jews in Eretz Israel. Paul Johnson wrote a beautiful book, the history of the Jewish people, says that the Greeks never bothered to understand the Jews. For them, they were just another nation. They were very arrogant and they looked down at the Jews. But the Jews were the exception of all the nations that the Greeks conquered. They were the one nation that had history, philosophy, theology, and a way of life and values that eventually conquered the Greek mentality. So this is one thing that helped the Jews wherever they went. So as a result, we created communities wherever a Jew moves into a new place, an uncharted territory. He looks for a minyan. Most Jews would look for, I need a minyan. The Gemara says that you cannot move into a town unless it has a doctor, a school, a synagogue, and kosher food. Like one among the rest, and a charity. So if you're the first one to move into town, what are you going to do? First, you have to bring more people, so you'll have a minyan, and then you have to hire a teacher to educate your children. And education was always crucial for Jews. Always, again, 2,000 years ago, the first system of public schools was established in Eretz Israel by Yoshua ben Gamla, way before any other system in any other part of the world. So you establish an educational system. You establish a charity system. The Gemara also says in Bava Batra, you're a new resident in town. Within a month, you have to participate in the regular charity. Within 3 months, you have to participate in certain taxes for the community. Within 6 months, you have to pay. And there is a charity that is a soup kitchen. There's a charity that takes care of the sick, takes care of burial. So we always had this self-contained unit that, on one hand, took care of their own members and preserved the identity and integrity of the Jewish community, and on the other hand, were a source of jealousy for other nations, because people looked at that and said, how can you do that? Where did this come from? If you are a non-Jew and you move from one town to another, you're total strangers. Nobody knows you. You have to start from scratch, unless you have some people from your hometown. But even that is not always helpful. For example, now, after these elections, some people said that everybody thought that the strong stance against immigration will definitely bring a lot of immigrants to vote for for Clinton and not for Trump. But in the aftermath, and talking, I spoke personally with some people, I had this theory, and some people confirmed it with me, with immigrants that work with them. They were the ones who voted for Trump because they wanted tougher measures on immigration, because they don't want more people to come.
Once they're here.
No, I'm here. I'm good. I don't want you to come.
Who cares about
that? Exactly. But that was not the mentality of Jews. It was always the state of Israel is the only place. There's no precedent to such a level of absorption as was in the state of Israel. Even when East Germany united with West Germany, with the two Germanys united, there was a lot of criticism, and it was not bringing people, moving them geographically. It was uniting two economies. Israel absorbed people and keeps it in a way that's unprecedented. So it sort of like always brought the jealousy of others, looking at them as you're ones who are set apart, but also jealous of their success. And this is proven in history and anthropology that when there is a conflict, the first ones to be targeted are the others, and usually the others who are more successful financially. So whether it's in Africa, between the Tutsi and the Hutu, what was like that? Yeah, or in other parts of the world, when there's what we call ethnic cleansing, it is ethnic cleansing. But the cleansers always look at the others and say, "Oh, you are foreigners. You sit on our lands, and you use us. You abuse us. You take our money, and therefore you deserve to die." So they take over that, and that's what happened to the Jews wherever they went. I mean, you just make a living. If you happen to be a little better off than your neighbor, that neighbor says, "Oh, you're living off my property," not realizing that maybe you are the one who's making the whole nation prosperous. And as we mentioned several times, this is what was proven again and again in history. But on the other hand, as much as this is sort of depressing, reading that, it also gives us a sense of hope, because we are experiencing anti-Semitism and terrorism and very strange, like really unfathomable statements regarding Israel and Jerusalem. We don't have to say that everything that Israel does is correct. But to say that we don't have a history in Israel, it's ridiculous. It's like you have enough engravings and writings and archaeological evidence beyond doubt. We even have more evidence than the Arabs to prove our existence and life in the Arabian Peninsula, what they call the Hijaz, and now called Saudi Arabia. Up until the 5th, 6th century, there was a very strong Jewish presence there. But okay, if they want to deny that, fine. Okay, Aramco, American Saudi oil company, published a book on Saudi Arabia and ignored completely the 1st to the 5th century. It didn't exist. It skipped from the Roman period to Islam, because they knew that if they speak about that period, they have to mention Jews. Okay, they erased that. It's fine. Okay, we'll live with that. Oil never helped us too much, but to erase the history of Israel, how can you do that? So it's really disheartening. But on the other hand, you look at this, you look at the stories, and you say, okay, we went through this, we persevered, we survived, we got out of that. It means that we really have some very, very strong and eternal values that we cling to. And I would say that at the end of the day, the core value of the Torah that guides Jews, whether they can call themselves religious or not, is what Hillel referred to as the golden rule. Ve'ahavta l'reacha kamocha. This is the great wisdom of Judaism. It says, love the other as you love yourself, right? So it starts with the idea of you have to love yourself first. You have to acknowledge that you're great. Other religions play down the individual. You're nothing. You're a sinner. In Judaism, the core idea is you're great. You have great talent. You have great potential. Realize it. But it doesn't stop there, because some religions do stop there. You have to achieve spiritual elevation, nirvana. Be on that. It's like ivory tower of spirituality. But Judaism says no. Now you're great. Take that greatness and share it with others. Ve'ahavta l'reacha kamocha. So Judaism is in constant movement of improve yourself in order to improve the world, and it's reciprocal. And if you look at Jewish history, this is what we've achieved. This is how we beat Haman, and this, hopefully, B'ezrat Hashem, how we overcome our other enemies. Baruch Adonai Eloheinu Amen. This midrash is in part of it in the Gemara and part of it in Aggadah Ten Sof or Aggadah Bereshit.